The UN study warns that in order to halt climate change and avoid the catastrophic consequences that will follow, global warming must be limited to 1.5 degrees. This being achievable only if unprecedented changes are made around the world in order to halt carbon dioxide production. The changes may be expensive and difficult to carry out, but are necessary in order to combat extreme weather, rising seas, and the potential loss of millions of human lives by the end of the century. The report also recommends that renewable sources need to provide 85% of global energy by 2020, with CO2 levels produced reduced by 45% by 2030 and completely carbon neutral by 2050. This follows last year when more carbon dioxide was released into the atmosphere than ever before. Other suggestions include the reduction of coal burning, switching to electric cars, extensive planting of forests, and limiting meat consumption.
It's something that was reported by the UN in 2012. It's something that I've been quite aware of for many years. I think Gibraltar is becoming far more aware of environmental issues and conservation issues, but I think there's always more that we can do.
Obviously, Gibraltar is a small place and it's a big world, but what can people here do to make positive changes to contribute towards tackling these problems?
I mean, certainly from the perspective of the Wildlife Park, we were encouraging people to think about what they can do as individuals to cut down, certainly like on the meat and dairy. So over the last 2 years, we've been running the Conscious Eating and Cut Meat Not Trees campaign, and that's to raise awareness of rainforests and species such as marmosets and tamarins that have been drastically affected by cattle ranching and the meat industry. So we're encouraging people to cut down on dairy and meat produce in order to help climate change and also habitats as well.
And for those who aren't in the know, how can cutting down on meat and dairy help this situation?
Well, the UN report sort of really clarifies that this time round by explaining sort of the huge amount of farmland that's required to produce such a small amount of food relative to vegetable feed as well. The soya food that goes into cattle rearing, and there's so many different aspects to it, the huge amount of water taken to produce a small amount of meat as well. So I think people don't realise it's just a completely unsustainable way of eating to the level that we're eating at the moment. And we also support, obviously, cutting down on plastic and packaging and things like that. It's about individual choices, and everybody can make choices every day that have an impact, and getting that message across that small acts add up.
While we can't change the world individually, everyone can do their bit to make a difference.